You wake before you mean to, which is a theme your life will enthusiastically continue for the next several centuries. The light is thin, pale, and a little judgmental, slipping through the wooden shutters of your small, drafty room as if it's checking whether you're still alive. You stretch, feeling the stiffness of a mattress stuffed with straw that pokes you in a dozen tiny but determined ways. If you slept on this every night in the modern world, you'd leave a 1-star review and demand a refund. But 500 years ago, this is luxury. You breathe in the morning air, cool, earthy, touched with smoke from last night's fire. You hear the soft shuffle of early risers outside, people who have already accepted that dawn owns them more than they own dawn. A rooster announces its existence again, loudly, as if someone asked. Nobody did. One of your first thoughts is simply, you probably won't make it through this day. And honestly, that's not pessimism, it's just statistically responsible. Your room is modest. Wooden walls, a tiny chest with 2 shirts you rotate carefully, and a small table holding a ceramic cup that's chipped in a way that adds character. Your shoes rest near the door, stiff with yesterday's mud. You slide your feet into the cold floorboards, your toes perk up like tiny alarmed animals, and make your way toward the hearth. The coals from last night still hold the faintest glow, so you kneel and breathe softly onto them. A little flame quivers to life, reluctant but willing, like someone being gently nudged awake and told there's free breakfast. You add a bit of kindling, listening to the tiny cracks and pops that fill the silence. The warmth slowly expands into the room, and your shoulders drop a little. Outside, the village hums to life. You can hear a cartwheel squeak, a familiar sound that always seems oddly comforting, like the medieval equivalent of a coffee machine sputtering awake. A dog barks once, then apparently decides that was enough productivity for the moment. Footsteps crunch on the dirt path. Someone coughs. Someone else curses softly at a stubborn latch. Daily life, unfolding exactly as it always does. As the fire grows, you prepare your simple morning meal. Coarse bread left over from yesterday, slightly tough but perfectly edible once warmed. You dip it into a small bowl of broth from the night before. Not exactly the breakfast of champions, but definitely the breakfast of people trying their best. You chew slowly, tasting the herbs, noticing how the warmth travels down your throat. You hear the wind press gently against the shutters, a reminder that weather can make or break your entire day. Here's your first major historical fact of the morning. 500 millennium ago, most people woke up and began working within minutes. No leisurely scroll through your phone. No meditation app telling you to inhale confidence and exhale negativity. No iced coffee requiring whipped foam and existential justification. Work waited for no one, not even you. You're already preparing mentally for your tasks. You run through them the way someone today runs through emails. Only yours involve food, firewood, livestock, neighbors, and the occasional mystery noise that everyone pretends is normal. You pull on your woolen clothing, thick and a little itchy, but wonderfully good at holding warmth. The fabric smells faintly of smoke and lanolin, which is just the natural perfume of survival. You tie the simple belt around your waist, and finally, slip into your heavy shoes. Before stepping out, you pause. You listen. You feel. The quiet rhythm of the village is steady and predictable. Something deeply grounding in a world where the unexpected often comes in the form of weather, illness, or surprise royal taxes. You run your fingers along the wooden doorframe, smooth from years of touch. Something in the stillness feels ancient, real, and close to the bone. A tiny detail you might enjoy. People often used willow bark, chewed like gum to ease small aches, because the bark contains a form of natural salicin, the ancestor of modern aspirin. You chew a small piece now, feeling its slightly bitter taste, and imagine medieval dentists shaking their heads in the distance. You push the door open. Cool morning air washes over you, carrying the familiar scent of damp earth and wood smoke. You step outside into a soft haze, the village wrapped in muted light, everything feeling a bit like a painting someone hasn't finished shading yet. Chickens wander confidently, as if they own the place. You nod at one. It does not nod back. Down the lane, a neighbor is gathering water from the communal well, muscles working in rhythmic motion. Another passes by with a basket of laundry, offering you a brief, tired smile. You return it because even 500 millennium ago, community is the thread that keeps everyone stitched together. And then there's this odd little cultural tidbit. Some villagers believe tucking a small carved charm under your mattress keeps nightmares away. You remember placing one under your straw mattress last night, a tiny wooden figure with a crooked smile. Did it work? Hard to say. You slept, didn't you? Historians still debate whether these charms were symbolic, spiritual, or just a medieval version of a nightlight made from hope and questionable craftsmanship. You take a few slow steps down the path, the ground soft underfoot. A cart rolls by with a stack of firewood, the driver lifting a hand in greeting. You lift yours back, appreciating how little social pressure exists here. No need for small talk about weekend plans or television shows you absolutely should be watching. As you walk, you think about the viewers, the ones listening right now, maybe wrapped in blankets, maybe drifting gently at the edge of sleep. You offer a quiet smile, knowing that someone in the modern world is hearing your footsteps echo across time. And in this calm, early moment, you finally whisper. If you're enjoying this gentle journey so far, feel free to like the video or subscribe. It helps this sleepy little village stay warm. And if you don't mind, tell us in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is there right now. A soft breeze brushes past you, the kind that carries promise but no urgency. Your breaths grow slower, deeper, more in rhythm with the world around you. Now, let's ease into tonight's journey. As you continue down the lane, the day from 500 years ago begins to unfold around you, quietly waiting for your next step. You're still walking down that same lane, the one you stepped onto just a few moments and 5 centuries ago. The morning is opening like a slow, careful fan. Somewhere in the distance, a voice rises, clear and steady, drifting over rooftops and chimneys. The call to prayer. You pause without really deciding to. The sound glides across the village, over tiled roofs and wooden beams, over chickens and laundry lines, over sleepy faces and already busy hands. It's gentle but firm, like a reminder from someone who loves you but also knows you forget things. You turn toward the small neighborhood mosque, its modest minaret just visible over the nearby houses. You're not in the capital, no grand domes yet, no towering skyline of stone and marble, just an ordinary settlement somewhere in the Ottoman Empire, around the time when Sultan Suleiman has recently taken the throne. By the mid-1522, Suleiman the Magnificent is already ruling from Istanbul, building the empire's reputation for law, order, and terrifyingly efficient tax records. You join the quiet flow of people moving toward the mosque. Some walk with purpose, some shuffle, clearly struggling to negotiate the early hour. You recognize that energy. You step inside, leaving your shoes in a small, worn cluster at the entrance. The floor is cool under your feet, covered with woven mats and simple textiles. You stand, bow, and prostrate in rhythm with everyone else, the movement slow and grounding. There's no rush, no background music, no buzzing notifications, just breath, words, and the soft sounds of fabric whispering against the floor. It settles something inside you, like dust sinking to the bottom of a glass of water. When the prayer ends, people drift back into the street. A few share quiet greetings and quick bits of news. Someone mentions a caravan passing through a nearby town, bringing cloth, spices, and stories from far away. Someone else grumbles about grain prices. You nod along, performing the ancient ritual of agreeing with complaints about the economy. Your first real task of the day waits at the heart of village life, the well and fountain. The street you walked down earlier leads directly to it, remember that one? It's back, only now a little busier. You carry a clay jug and a wooden bucket, the handles worn, smooth from countless trips. The fountain is part of a charitable endowment, a Waqf institution funded to maintain public works like water sources, schools, or hammams. The stone basin is decorated with a few simple carvings, already softened by time and touch. Water pours steadily from a spout, clear and cold, the most important infrastructure project in your daily existence. You wait your turn, watching the tiny dramas of the morning unfold. 2 children argue over whose turn it is to hold the rope. Both are wrong, according to the older woman supervising them. A skinny cat lurks nearby, clearly hoping that someone will spill something interesting. A man adjusts his turban, muttering about his back. Daily life is made of very small epics. As you draw water, you feel the smooth weight of the rope in your hands, the tug of the filled bucket rising to meet you. Your jug fills with a gentle, satisfying sound. If hydration apps existed, this would be the moment they send you. A sparkling, congratulatory notification. Here's a wonderfully odd detail from your world. Some people in your village believe that if you whisper a small blessing into the water before you carry it home, it tastes better and keeps illness away. You've seen more than one person lean close to the fountain, lips moving softly. You do it too, partly out of faith, partly out of why not. It can't hurt. Historians still debate whether such small rituals reveal deep theological symbolism or are simply the everyday magic humans keep inventing to feel less fragile in a big, unpredictable world. You balance the full jug carefully, its cool surface damp against your fingers, and begin the walk back home. The sun is a bit higher now, painting the village in warmer tones. Smoke curls lazily from chimneys. A few women sit just outside their doors, already working at spinning or mending. Threads slide between fingers, quietly turning time into cloth. Back in your house, you place the water carefully near the hearth. You take a moment to tidy, sweeping the floor with a simple broom, shaking out blankets, folding the clothing you'll need later. There is no separate category called exercise. There is only life, which is physical. If you could see your daily step count, you'd be quietly impressed. You tear another piece of bread, dipping it into a small dish of olive oil or cheese, whatever the household can spare this morning. The flavors are simple and intense. Someone in the house adds a drizzle of grape molasses pekmez, thick and dark, turning your breakfast briefly into something that feels like a small feast. As you eat, you listen to the world outside. The clop of hooves, the creak of a cart, the distant call of a vendor passing through. Streaks of conversation drift in snatches of gossip, news from distant relatives, rumors of what the imperial court in Istanbul might be planning next. The empire is large, but news has a way of traveling, like smoke, slowly, everywhere. By now, your body is fully awake, warmed by movement, prayer, and food. The real work of the day waits fields, workshop, loom, or stall, depending on who you are in this story. But no matter your role, your steps will eventually lead to the same place. The bustling spaces where people trade goods, favors, and information. You take one last look around, your small but carefully ordered home, making sure the fire is safe, the water covered, and your charm, yes, the same little carved one under your mattress still exactly where you left it, just in case. Then you step back outside, into the growing light of an Ottoman morning, ready to follow the path that leads toward the market and whatever the day decides to throw at you. You walk the same lane again, but now it's busier, louder, more awake. The village is stretching into the day like a cat that owns the place, which, to be fair, the village cats absolutely do. You make your way toward the main, the road that leads to the market town nearby. Your feet tracing a route you know by heart. Dust kicks up under your shoes as you walk. A faint breeze moves through the trees, carrying the mingled scents of animals, earth, and wood smoke. You pass by that house you noticed earlier, the one with the slightly crooked door and the perfectly straight laundry line. A woman is hanging garments with quick, practiced movements, humming under her breath. She glances up and nods. You nod back. The social contract is fulfilled. Soon, the road widens, and you begin to meet people from other villages, all moving in the same direction. Someone leads a donkey, piled high with firewood. Another walks with a basket of eggs, carefully cradled, as if carrying the world's most fragile dreams. A boy trots past with a small flock of sheep, trying very hard to look authoritative and only partially succeeding. The closer you get to town, the louder life becomes. Voices overlap, vendors call out, wheels rasp over. Stone. You enter through a simple gate or arch, the wood worn smooth by countless hands. The town unfolds in front of you, a patchwork of houses, workshops, and narrow streets that twist like thoughts. You head toward the market square, where the heart of your daily routine beats steadily. Stalls are set up with practiced ease. Baskets of onions, heaps of grain, bundles of herbs hanging upside down like sleeping bats. Strips of cloth sway slightly in the air. Somewhere, a metal worker hammers at a piece of glowing iron, each strike ringing out like a small metallic bell. Here's today's major historical fact, neatly hiding inside the noise of the market. The Ottoman Empire around this time is organized through a complex network of guilds, esnaf that regulate trades, set prices, and maintain standards among artisans and shopkeepers. Whether you're a weaver, baker, tanner, or carpenter, there's likely a guild elder who cares deeply about your flour quality, your wool thread, count, and your moral conduct. You move through the stalls, exchanging greetings, small coins, and smaller jokes. A vendor offers you figs, holding them up with a flourish, as if they are rare jewels instead of slightly squishy fruit. Another has spices in tiny piles, cumin, coriander, maybe a hint of precious pepper, little pyramids of color and aroma. You lean closer, inhaling their warmth. It's like smelling distant lands without needing to pack a bag. You stop near a cloth seller's stall, fingers brushing over rough wool, smoother linen, maybe even a small piece of imported silk that shines faintly in the light. The seller watches your reaction with a knowing smile. Commerce has always included reading people's faces like open ledgers. Here, in this crowd, you're not just buying things. You're catching up on the day's unplanned broadcast. Gossip flows freely about a neighbor's marriage arrangement, about a dispute over land, about a tax collector who may or may not be in a particularly good mood this month. To survive in this world, you don't just need food. You need information, and the market is your newsfeed. You overhear something particularly specific. A traveler talking about the capital, Istanbul, and the great building projects underway. There are rumors of new mosques, new schools, new fountains, all funded by the Sultan and elite families eager to leave their names etched onto stone and memory. Historians still debate whether ordinary villagers fully understood the scale of these imperial ambitions, or experienced them mostly through taxes, conscription, and the occasional dreamy report of distant splendor. You buy what you can afford. Perhaps some grain, a handful of dried fruit, a bit of salt, maybe a small treat you justify with the timeless phrase, "It was there." You tuck everything into your bag or baskets, already mentally measuring how far it has to travel on your shoulders. Then you notice a side street not quite, hidden, but easily overlooked, that runs behind the main market area. You've walked it before. Remember that corner you passed earlier, the one with the low wall and the lazy cat? It's back. Only now, there's a small group of men sitting on a bench, passing around a clay pipe with fragrant tobacco. Here's an obscure tidbit from your world. In some towns, people keep songbirds in small cages near windows or in courtyards, believing their constant chirping brings blessings and keeps the household cheerful. As you walk this side street, you pass one such house. A delicate bird sings from its hanging cage, its tiny chest pulsing with effort. The sound threads through the alley, adding a bright, unexpected note to the day. You pause for a moment, listening. In the blend of hammer strikes, vendor calls, bird song, and laughter, there's a kind of rough music to the city. No one orchestrated it, but it's there all the same, your own unscripted soundtrack. If you're part of a craft, this is where your path splits off from the pure shoppers. You might turn toward a workshop where you spend your hours weaving, tanning, stitching, or shaping. The air inside is thick with scents, dyes, leather, wood shavings, or flour. Your hands know exactly what to do, the motions memorized by repetition long ago. There is no hourly wage countdown, no time-tracking software, no productivity hacks. There is just work. Tasks that need doing so people can eat, wear clothing, and sleep under roofs that don't fall on their heads. The same hands that pray at dawn carve, mend, grind, and lift now. And yet, in the midst of all this, there are small moments of quiet joy. A shared joke over a crooked piece of wood. A neighbor bringing you a fig by accident and pretending they had one too many. The brief satisfaction of a neat row of stitches, or a perfectly shaped clay bowl. You move through these hours, slowly but steadily, like a river that doesn't need to be told to keep flowing. Outside, the sun climbs higher, turning the streets bright and slightly unforgiving. You wipe sweat from your brow with a sleeve that has known this routine longer than you have. By midday, your stomach reminds you that time is passing in a language it knows well. The market begins to shift toward its quieter phase. Stalls a little less chaotic, voices a little hoarser. You start thinking about heading back home, about food, about shade, about the small comfort of your own hearth waiting for you. The day is far from over, but already, The outline of your 500-year-old routine is clear. Prayer, water, market, work, and the constant weaving of conversation around it all. You turn back toward the road that will carry you home. Your hands a little tired, your heart a little full, your life quietly and completely entangled with everyone else's. You follow the familiar road home, sunlight settling onto your shoulders like a warm but slightly over-enthusiastic blanket. The market, noises fade behind you, replaced by the softer rhythm of the village, wooden doors closing, chickens announcing their ongoing existence, someone calling to a neighbor about borrowed tools. Your house comes into view, quiet and steady, its walls holding the coolness the morning left behind. You slip inside, setting your basket down with a satisfying thump that tells you you've successfully completed the ancient human quest known as getting groceries. Someone in your household stirs the small pot hanging over the hearth. The scent drifting from it is simple and comforting. Lentils, onions, maybe a sprinkle of herbs if fortune has been kind. In the Ottoman Empire of the early 1500s, the midday meal often doubles as the main meal of the day, and your stomach agrees with this cultural wisdom wholeheartedly. You sit cross-legged on the mat as the food is distributed. The bowls are humble clay, slightly uneven, made by hands you probably know. You break bread, passing pieces to others, and feel the texture crumble just a little between your fingers. When you dip it into the stew, steam rises softly, brushing your face. The taste is earthy and warm. You eat slowly, listening to the tiny domestic sounds around you, the scrape of a spoon, the crackle of the hearth, the gentle rustle of fabric as someone shifts. There's no haste, no multitasking, no inbox to clear between bites. Your food has your full attention, partly because it's delicious, and partly because it's the only thing standing between you and fainting in the fields later. A neighbor arrives at the open doorway, asking casually if you've heard the latest news from the next town. You haven't, but you pretend you might have, because gossip is a communal currency, and nobody wants to be the one with empty pockets. It turns out someone's cousin's cousin is getting married, and the dowry negotiations apparently involve an impressive number of goats. You respond with a thoughtful nod, which is the correct facial expression for goat-related diplomacy. After eating, you step into the small courtyard attached to your home. The sun is high now, but a few olive trees cast generous patches of shade onto the packed earth. You take a seat beneath one of them, letting the breeze brush past your face like a quiet reassurance that the world is still gentle enough. At least for this hour. Here's a rather charming cultural tidbit. Some Ottoman households kept turtles in their gardens or courtyards, believing they brought calmness and balance to the home. You spot one now slowly making its way across the courtyard, with all the urgency of a philosopher contemplating life. It pauses at a fallen leaf, seems to judge its taste, and decides it is merely acceptable. You relate to this more than you expected. You lie back on a woven mat, the ground cool beneath you. Your eyes drift upward to the branches, swaying gently overhead. The light filters through the leaves in soft, shifting patterns like the world is quietly sketching shadows for your entertainment. You take slow breaths, letting your body settle into the calm of midday. But even in this tranquility, you feel the weight of afternoon tasks waiting for you. Fields, animals, workshops, they don't care how poetic the breeze is. Still, for a few minutes, you allow yourself the luxury of doing absolutely nothing. It is surprisingly satisfying. Someone in your family begins preparing tea brewing in a small pot with the steady, patient warmth of coals. The aroma lifts into the courtyard, faint but unmistakable. You accept the cup offered to you, cradling it between both hands, the heat sinking pleasantly into your palms. As you sip, you hear someone down the lane singing softly while hanging laundry. The melody floats through the air like a thread, weaving you back into the village's shared rhythm. Historians still debate whether these work songs were remnants of older traditions or simply the natural human habit of making chores feel less lonely by giving them a soundtrack. When the tea is finished and the air begins to lose its cool edge, you rise slowly, brushing dust from your clothing. The afternoon is calling not loudly, but with the quiet persistence of someone tapping your shoulder and saying, "It's time." Your tools wait where you left them. The fields wait. The world waits. And so, you step forward again, ready to spill the next few hours of your life into the soil, the workshop, or the small but constant tasks that hold the Ottoman countryside together. You step back onto the dusty road with your tools in hand, the sun still bright but inching slowly toward its gentler hours. The afternoon stretches ahead of you like a long, predictable story, one you know by heart but still find comfort in. If your life revolves around the fields, you head in that direction now. The land spreads out in soft browns and greens, stitched together by narrow footpaths and low stone walls. You pass a cluster of fig trees, their leaves glowing faintly in the sun, and inhale the scent of earth warming beneath your feet. If you're a craftsperson, your workshop awaits instead. Wooden beams frame the doorway, and inside, the room smells of whatever your trade demands. Grain, dust, wool fibers, damp clay, fresh cut wood. The air is warm and thick with work, the kind that invites you to roll up your sleeves and settle into rhythm. One thing is constant. Ottoman communities ran on collective labor in the afternoons. Neighbors helping neighbors. Families, weaving thread into fabric, effort into survival, and survival into routine. You begin your tasks. Your hands move almost automatically, muscle memory built over years. You rake soil, mend rope, knead dough, or spin wool on a spindle that hums reassuringly with each turn. Your movements feel quiet, even when they aren't an immersion into work so deep it almost feels like meditation. Around you, others labor too. You hear the muted thud of a wooden mallet in the distance, the rhythmic clacking of a loom, the soft grunts of someone lifting baskets of grain. Conversations drift between workers. The chickens are acting strange today. Everything acts strange before rain. So does my husband. You smile. People haven't changed nearly as much as technology has. Someone stops by your workspace, a friend, a cousin, a neighbor, and hands you a small piece of fruit, a gift without ceremony, offered with the casual generosity of people who live intertwined lives. It might be a plum, sweet and sharp on your tongue. It might be a slice of melon that feels like biting into cool sunlight. As you work, you hear a distant caravan bell, faint but distinct. A small group of traders is passing through, their camels stepping with that slow, confident rhythm unique to creatures who know the world is big but not frightening. One trader calls out greetings. Another offers a glimpse of bright cloth or strange coins. Children rush toward them, eyes wide, ready to be dazzled. Here's an obscure cultural detail to enjoy. In some Ottoman towns, certain workers believed that tying a tiny piece of red thread around the wrist on busy days protected them from exhaustion or misfortune. You notice a bit of red string tied around the wrist of someone across the courtyard, a splash of color against sun-browned skin. Whether it works or not? Well, historians still debate whether such charms were practical psychology or simply one more example of humans trying very hard to negotiate with fate. You keep working. Time slows, but pleasantly. There's something soothing about tasks that don't demand innovation, only presence. You feel sweat gather at your temples, but the breeze is kind enough to help. Occasionally, someone passes by offering a quick story. News of a wedding, a dispute over grazing land, a child who proudly caught a fish. This big, the gesture always far exceeds biological possibility. Different voices, different lives, all carried through the same air. As the sun tilts further toward the west, the light softens. Shadows lengthen across the soil, the workshop floor, the courtyard stones. Your muscles grow tired, but in a satisfying way, the kind of tired that feels earned, not stolen. You take a short pause, wiping your brow with your sleeve. The air smells like grass, dust, and distant cooking fires. A shepherd calls out to his flock. A pattern of birds shifts across the sky, a brief flicker of wings against the afternoon. Glow. Your work continues until the light grows too faint to be reliable. In a world without electric lamps, the sun is your supervisor. And tonight, it's dismissing you gently, rather than urgently, always appreciated. With your tasks finished, you gather your things and head home once more. The road feels different in the late afternoon, calmer, touched with gold. You walk slower now, letting the day settle into your bones. Soon, you'll return to the hearth, to warmth, to the chatter of evening routines. But for now, you savor this quiet walk, the soft crunch of dirt underfoot, the cool wind rising, and the soft glow settling over an Ottoman village preparing to slip peacefully into evening. You reach the village just as the sun begins to loosen its grip on the sky, spilling warm amber light across rooftops and doorways. Shadows stretch long and thin, like lazy cats deciding it's finally time to move. Your steps slow without you telling them to the world itself is shifting into a lower gear, and you fall right into sync with it. The road you've walked 3 times already today is softer now, dust cooling under your feet. You pass the same houses as before, but in this gentle light they look different. Warmer, kinder, almost as if they exhale when evening arrives. A few oil lamps have been lit already, their small flames flickering behind wooden shutters. You make your way home, shoulders a little heavy from work, mind quiet in the way only physical labor can achieve. The door creaks softly as you push it open, and the familiar scent of the hearth greets you: wood smoke, warm air, and the faint, lingering aroma of herbs from the midday meal. Inside, your family or housemates are settling into their own evening rhythms. Someone kneels by the fire, coaxing it back to life with practiced motions. Sparks jump upward like tiny, excited fire spirits. Another person sets bowls on the floor mats, readying the table for the evening meal. You place your tools aside and sink onto the mat with a soft sigh that belongs to humans across all centuries. The evening meal is simpler than midday, usually something light. Tonight it might be a stew of chickpeas or beans, perhaps flavored with onions or garlic, maybe with a spoonful of yogurt or a drizzle of olive oil if the household is feeling generous. Bread is torn and shared, and you eat slowly, the warmth slipping through your tired limbs. A quiet conversation unfolds around you. Someone recounts a small mishap in the fields, nothing serious, just enough to earn a laugh. Someone else mentions hearing a rumor about a tax collector visiting the next village over. This immediately becomes more interesting than it should be. Tax collectors have that effect. You join in the talk with your own small contributions. The caravan you saw earlier, the market gossip you picked up, the funny way that one merchant insisted his dried figs were the best in 3 provinces, though you're pretty sure. He says that every week. After eating, you step back outside for a moment, drawn by the cool touch of the evening air. The sky is shifting into deeper shades, brushed with rose and violet, fading toward the blue of coming night. Children chase each other down the lane, laughing until their parents call them inside. A shepherd guides his flock back through the village gate, the sheep trudging in a patient, woolly procession. Somewhere nearby, a woman sings softly as she rocks a cradle. The melody weaves through the air like a thread of sweetness. You lean against your doorway for a moment, letting the sound anchor you. Here's your obscure cultural tidbit for this hour. In some Ottoman villages, people believed that placing a sprig of rue or sometimes rosemary above the doorway in the evening kept wandering spirits or misfortune from slipping in overnight. As you glance upward, you notice a dried herb bundle tied just above your doorframe, its leaves crisp but still fragrant. Whether it works or not, historians still debate whether such doorway charms were serious protection or simply comforting traditions passed from one generation to the next. You duck back inside as the sky dims further, settling down on a floor cushion near the hearth. Someone brings out a small oil lamp and places it on the low table, the flame swaying gently as if deciding how brightly it wants to shine tonight. This is the hour when stories come out. Not dramatic legends or hero tales, those belong to special occasions. Tonight's stories are simpler. Memories, misadventures, small jokes, the kind of casual storytelling that makes a home feel alive. You listen, feeling the weave of familiarity wrapping around everyone in the room. One person talks about a stubborn goat that refused to move from the middle of the path earlier. Another shares a half-whispered rumor from a traveler about the Sultan's great architectural projects in Istanbul, the kind you'll never see, but still, imagine in vivid detail. You stretch your legs toward the fire, the heat brushing gently against your skin. The crackling logs sound like tiny footsteps dancing. A neighbor taps on the door for a quick visit, bringing a handful of dried apricots to share. Hospitality is a soft, constant current in Ottoman life. You give a little, you receive a little, and the balance keeps communities stitched together. As the night deepens, you feel your body growing heavier in the pleasant way that signals you've earned your rest. But there are still small tasks to tend to. Sweeping the floor, banking the fire, checking the animals. You help where you can, tying a loose rope, carrying in a small bundle of wood, adjusting the shutters so the night breeze doesn't blow too strongly. Someone brings out a small prayer book or recitation, reading softly. The words float like warm breath across the room. You don't need to understand every line. The sound alone is grounding, like a gentle hand on your shoulder. Outside, the insects begin their nocturnal chorus. A dog barks once in the distance, then thinks better of it. The frogs near the stream begin their croaking consultations about life. The night is alive, but slow, safe, predictable. Finally, after the last embers settle and the oil lamp is dimmed, you stretch once more, feeling exhaustion melt into comfort. Your bed, straw-filled, familiar, oddly endearing despite its pokiness, waits for you. You lie down, pulling the woven blanket over your tired limbs. Somewhere under the mattress, the tiny carved charm still hides, keeping whatever watch it believes it's keeping. Your eyes begin to close, the sounds of the village folding into a soft hum around you. Night settles on your Ottoman world like a well-worn cloak. And your day, 500 years ago, ends in gentle darkness. You don't fall asleep immediately. Not yet. Night in the Ottoman countryside may be peaceful, but it still asks a few small things of you before you surrender to dreams. So you lift yourself from the familiar scratch of the straw mattress and step quietly toward the doorway. Outside, the air feels different now, cooler, thinner, touched with the faint sweetness of distant orchards and the clean scent of running water. The sky overhead is a slow, deepening bowl of ink, sprinkled generously with stars that look close enough to pluck if you stood on your toes. The village is not silent, just softer. A few houses still glow with small lamps. A distant donkey makes a dramatic complaint about nothing in particular. Someone closes a wooden window with a soft thud, and from far beyond the fields, a faint howl rises and falls. Wolves, perhaps, or dogs responding to wolves. The old chorus between predator and guardian. You stand at your doorway for a moment, letting your eyes adjust. This is when you check that everything is as it should be. The animals secure, the embers banked, the door latch firm. 500 years ago, the night expects its share of vigilance. You step into the courtyard again. The olive tree overhead rustles quietly, its leaves shimmering in the moonlight like scales. Your small turtle, yes. The philosopher you saw earlier has tucked itself beneath a stone, adopting the perfect posture of do not disturb. You envy it a little. You cross to the small storage shed to make sure everything is organized. Baskets of dried figs and walnuts rest neatly on the shelves. A clay jar of olives sits on its side, sealed with wax. You gently tap the lid with your knuckle, not checking for freshness, just confirming its little world is intact. Rituals matter. A lantern glows faintly down the path. It's the village watchman, making his rounds, a role that rotates among some families. He carries a wooden staff, more symbolic than weapons grade, and a small lamp that draws moths like adoring fans. He approaches with an easy gait, nodding when he sees you. Quiet tonight, he says, the universal phrase for please stay that way. You nod back and trade a brief conversation about the weather, the harvest, and one particularly dramatic goat that jumped a fence earlier. Nothing that needs solving, just the social glue of the evening shift. Here's your unusual cultural tidbit. Some villagers keep small pouches of salt hanging near their doors at night, believing salt repels wandering spirits or unlucky influences, a superstition shared by several regions of the empire. As the watchman passes, you notice a tiny cloth bag tied near your neighbor's doorway. Historians still debate whether people genuinely feared spirits or simply used the salt pouch to justify good luck when nothing terrible happened. After he continues on his patrol, you linger outside a little longer. You tilt your head back toward the sky. No light pollution here, just stars layered upon stars. You pick out familiar ones, the bright arc of a constellation sailors use, the cluster that shepherds consider good, luck, and a shimmering band you've always called the Road of Birds, because it looks like a path they might follow into the heavens. It's quiet enough now that you can hear the distant tap-tap of a night fisherman down by the river, knocking on the edge of his boat to attract fish, an old trick that works better than anyone admits. You breathe slowly, feeling the coolness settle deeply into your chest. Night is the empire's softest hour, away from courts and armies and grand mosques, away from politics and letters written on fine paper. Life is simple. Fields sleeping, fires dimming, families settling, stars being quietly spectacular overhead. Your eyes grow heavy again. The long day returns to your muscles, reminding you that sleep was never optional, just briefly postponed. You take one last sweep of the courtyard, making sure the door latch is in place and the herb bundle above the doorway hasn't slipped. Everything is ready. You slip back inside your small house. Someone is already asleep, breathing softly. The hearth glows with the last exhale of flame. You crawl under your blanket again, the straw mattress prickly but honest. Outside, the night hums gently, like a lullaby sung by the earth itself. Your eyes close, and for a brief moment, you feel the world turning quietly around you. Slow enough to dream, steady enough to trust. You drift, and evening becomes night. You wake again, but this time not because you meant to. Something in the air is shifting, something subtle, but insistent. The night hasn't fully ended, but it's loosening its fingers. There's a faint glow at the horizon, only a suggestion of light. Enough to trick birds into considering whether it's time to sing yet. You lie there for a moment, listening. Someone turns over in their sleep across the room, muttering a word that makes no sense, even in your language. A chicken outside lets out one confused, premature cluck. Even the rooster isn't awake yet, which feels like a small victory. You stretch beneath your blanket, joints crackling softly like tiny twigs snapping in a gentle fire. Your eyes drift toward the shutters, still closed, still holding back the dawn that insists on arriving, whether anyone asks for it or not. You rise quietly, not wanting to wake the others. Your feet touch the cool floor, grounding you instantly in the reality of a pre-modern morning. In a world without alarm clocks, your body becomes the timekeeper, and your body, being annoyingly responsible, has decided the day is beginning. You light a small oil lamp, shielding its faint flame with your hand. The dim glow reveals shadows of familiar shapes. The clay jar near the wall, the low wooden table, the bundle of herbs hanging to dry. The household turtle remains in its chosen corner, absolutely refusing to participate in the concept of early rising. You envy it again. You open the shutters. The darkness outside has a soft, bluish tint the moment just before. Dawn stretches itself awake. The air is cold enough to make your breath visible. You inhale deeply, tasting dew and earth and the faint smoke from someone's dying fire. This is the hour when chores begin quietly, as if not to disturb the sleeping world. You step outside, pulling your cloak around your shoulders. The courtyard stones are damp beneath your feet, and the olive tree rustles faintly, as if whispering to itself. Your first task is simple. Check the animals. You open the shed, finding them drowsy but alert, blinking large eyes at you as if to say, "Already?" You refill troughs with a bit of stored water and distribute handfuls of feed. The animals shift, snort, or shuffle in appreciation. You respond with the ancient human tradition of muttering softly to creatures who definitely do not understand you. In the distance, a faint sound stirs someone in the neighboring house, grinding grain on a stone quern, the rhythmic shuf-shuf drifting through the cold air. A comforting sound. The sound of life beginning again. Here's today's curious cultural tidbit. In some Ottoman villages, people believed that the first household to sweep its courtyard before dawn would receive good fortune for the day. But if they swept too early, it was said to chase blessings away instead. You consider this superstition as you pick up your broom. Historians still debate whether this belief was spiritual or simply clever social moderation to keep neighbors from waking everyone up with aggressive sweeping at 4 a.m. You sweep gently anyway, careful not to take your chances with cosmic household management. Dust moves softly across the ground, carried away by the lightest breeze. By now, the sky has deepened into a pale grey blue. A single bird chirps experimentally. Another answers. A third decides to rehearse its entire repertoire. You smile despite yourself. You head inside to tend the hearth. The coals from last night are clinging to their last breath of heat, but you coax them back with patience and bits of kindling. Flames bloom slowly, politely. Warmth spills outward, painting the interior with soft gold. As the fire grows, you prepare a small morning drink. Maybe a light decoction of herbs. Maybe warm water mixed with honey, if you're fortunate enough to have some. Coffee hasn't yet spread widely through the empire. It's still making its early journey from Yemen into larger cities. So your morning ritual is simpler, gentler. You sip slowly, letting the warmth settle into your chest. The others begin to stir soft footsteps, a yawn, the rustle of blankets. The house wakes like a creature stretching its limbs. Someone opens the door wider, and the cold morning rushes in. Another person starts kneading dough for breakfast bread. Someone else adjusts the water jar, preparing for the day's first wash. Soon, the call to prayer will rise again, carrying the dawn fully into being. But for a moment, you stand in the doorway, watching the first rays of light slip across the village rooftops. The world is waking gently, and so are you. The sky shifts one final shade lighter, crossing that invisible line between too early and inevitably morning. The first call to prayer rises soft at first, then steady, confident, weaving through the cool air like a long, slow ribbon of sound. You pause in the doorway, your warm cup still between your hands, and listen. The voice travels across rooftops, over courtyards, past fig trees, through drifting smoke from early hearths. It's a sound that doesn't ask permission, it simply arrives, as reliable as breathing. You set the cup down and step outside, pulling your shawl around your shoulders. The village glows faintly now, a soft wash of pastel light touching every stone and tile. A few other figures step from their homes, moving silently toward the small neighborhood mosque. You join them, feet whispering over the damp earth. The path is familiar, of course it is. You walked it yesterday. You'll walk it tomorrow. Dawn, work, rest, prayer, everything loops, repeating until repetition becomes comfort. Inside the mosque, the air is cool and clean, scented faintly with dust and woven mats. You leave your shoes at the entrance, slipping into the quiet space where early risers gather. The room is dim, but the soft light creeping through the lattice windows makes the patterns on the walls seem alive. When the imam's voice begins the prayer, you follow each movement standing, bowing, lowering yourself to the floor, in a gesture so old it feels built into your bones. The world outside fades. There's no market noise, no chores tugging at your sleeve, no mental list of tasks, just breath, rhythm, and the steady merging of many voices speaking words with ancient weight. The prayer ends not abruptly, but like a tide receding. People murmur greetings. A few linger longer, whispering private supplications. Someone asks you quietly if the mule you borrow for fieldwork is improving. Its leg had been bothering it last week. You answer with the solemn authority of someone who has stared at the mule's leg at least twice and nodded wisely both times. Outside, the sky has turned a soft gold. A chicken flutters loudly atop a fence, declaring itself CEO of morning. A woman walks past, carrying a clay bowl of dough, balanced on her hip. The air smells faintly of baking bread now, a scent capable of lifting your spirits even on the hardest mornings. You begin the walk back home. The path glistens faintly with dew, small droplets clinging to blades of grass like beads of glass. The sound of distant water, a stream or irrigation channel, threads through the silence. On your way, you pass an older man sitting on a low stool, sharpening a sickle. He nods as you pass. His face is carved with lines that look like maps of many seasons. "Rain soon," he remarks, not looking up. You glance at the sky, clear as polished copper. "Are you sure?" "No," he says cheerfully, "but it's good to say things with confidence." You appreciate his honesty. Here's today's curious tidbit. Some villagers believed that you should never whistle before breakfast, as it invites mischievous spirits or steals the blessing of the day. You pass two young boys walking to the well, one about to whistle before the other slaps his arm in horror. They glare at each other in the universal language of brothers who have entirely different levels of respect for superstition. Historians still debate whether this belief had spiritual roots, or whether parents invented it to enjoy one blessed hour of morning silence. Back home, breakfast preparations fill the small house with gentle life. Someone kneads dough on the low table, pushing and folding with steady, practiced hands. Another person stirs a pot of milk, watching it carefully so it doesn't scorch. A younger sibling or cousin crushes herbs in a small mortar, each tap of the pestle soft and rhythmic. You help where you can, fetching stored water, slicing a piece of cheese, adjusting the hearth. Dawn light spills across the floor in long, golden rectangles, turning simple chores into something quietly beautiful. When the flatbread goes onto the pan, it sizzles softly, filling the room with warmth and anticipation. The first piece is always eaten immediately, torn into generous portions and passed around, steam curling upward like a blessing. You take a bite. It is warm, soft, just slightly charred at the edges. Simple but perfect. Your stomach approves wholeheartedly. Breakfast is not a rushed affair. There is no train to catch, no emails waiting. Just people sitting on mats, eating slowly, letting the day begin in its own steady rhythm. Someone tells a short joke, one that has probably been told 100 times in this house, but everyone laughs anyway. Familiar jokes are part of the structure of family life. When the bowls are cleaned and the bread is finished, you stand, ready to face the tasks waiting outside. The animals need tending, the bread needs cooling, tools need checking, plans need making. The sun climbs a little higher, warming your back. As you step into the courtyard, you feel the shape of the day forming its demands, its routines, its small joys. And even though you've lived versions of this morning countless times, it never feels boring. Repetition is its own kind of comfort in a world without clocks, schedules, or distractions. You breathe deeply, the smell of warm bread and damp earth filling your lungs. The day is ready, and so are you. You step into the courtyard just as the sun fully claims the village, its light turning every surface into a soft, glowing promise. Not a loud promise, nothing in your world is loud this early, but a gentle one, like a hand placed lightly on your shoulder, guiding you toward the day ahead. Your tools wait where you left them last night. A wooden rake, a hoe with a smooth handle shaped by years of palms, a woven basket that always seems a little more worn each morning. You check each one with the kind of attention modern people reserve for phone batteries. This is your battery, your power source for the hours ahead. If you work the fields, you sling your tools over your shoulder and head toward the open land beyond the village walls. If you work a trade, carpenter, potter, weaver, you turn instead toward your workshop or the shared workspace where neighbors gather. Either way, your feet know the path by memory alone. The village is busy now, but in a quiet, practical way. A woman draws water at the fountain, humming under her breath. A boy leads a pair of donkeys toward the river, their hooves tapping in a gentle syncopation. Someone else carries a stack of firewood, each step careful and deliberate. When you reach your workplace, whether soil or shop, you pause for a breath. The sun is warm, but not yet harsh. This is the golden hour of productivity, the sweet spot between fully awake and exhaustion. In the fields, the earth feels soft and pliable beneath your feet. Wheat stalks or barley sway gently, whispering against one another like 1,000 conspirators sharing secrets. You kneel to check the soil with your fingers, feel the cool firmness of it, inhale the faint scent of greenery and dust. If you're in a workshop, the air is different, thicker, richer, busy with scents, sawdust, clay, fresh-cut wood, warm wool, wet leather. Each trade has its own perfume, and each one clings to you long after you've finished working. You accept this as part of your identity. You smell like what you do. You begin your tasks. Your body knows the rhythm before your mind catches up. Pull, turn, weave, lift, measure, shape, smooth, tie, dig, rake, plant, gather. There's comfort in it, work that requires presence but not anxiety, attention but not worry. You are in the flow, centuries before the concept of flow state will exist. The world around you hums with activity. Birds flit through the air, snatching insects from just above the crops. A dog trots past with the purposeful look of a creature pretending it has an errand. Children join their parents for small tasks, learning by imitation and occasional mild scolding. A neighbor calls to you across the field or through the open workshop door. The merchant from Bursa brought dyed thread this morning. You wave back. Already? He moves faster than gossip. This earns a laugh, because gossip, in your village, travels at remarkable speed. And then comes your historical fact for the day, woven seamlessly into your life. By the early 1500s, the Ottoman Empire used an intricate system of land distribution called the Timar system, granting land revenues to cavalrymen, sipahis, in exchange for military service. Even out here, where politics seems distant, the system shapes everything. Who owns your land? How much tax you pay? Who comes riding through when the empire calls? You might never meet your sipahi, but you know his name. You know his agent collects grain annually. And you know the stability of your field depends, in part, on decisions made far away. Yet life here remains steady, grounded in the soil beneath your fingernails. As the morning continues, The world grows brighter and warmer. Sweat beads at your forehead. You pause to wipe it away with a sleeve, already carrying a collection of stains from mornings past. Here's your obscure cultural tidbit. Some Ottoman villagers believed that tying a tiny blue bead to a tool, especially one used daily, protected it from breaking or losing its spirit. You notice that someone nearby has tied such a bead to the handle of their hoe. It swings gently as they work, clicking softly against the wood. Whether it helps or not, historians still debate whether such charms were symbolic, superstitious, or just emotionally comforting, like giving your tools their own tiny courage. Around mid-morning, people take short breaks. Someone brings out a water jug, cool from the morning shade. You take a deep drink, feeling the liquid fill the dryness in your throat, spreading like cool relief through your chest. Someone else shares a small handful of seeds or nuts. You accept them gratefully. Even tiny snacks feel important when the day stretches long. You glance toward the horizon. The sun climbs. A distant caravan moves like a quiet procession across the hills, shapes swaying in the heat, carrying goods, stories, news from worlds you'll never see. Its bells give off faint, wandering sounds that the breeze gathers and brings toward you like a gift. Your tasks continue, steady as your breath. The morning matures into its busiest hour. You fall back into rhythm. Pull, turn, weave, lift, push, shape, smooth, mend. The day is fully awake now, and so are you. But eventually, slowly, the sun reaches the point where shadows shrink, where heat begins to settle heavily on your back. This is the sign that mid-morning is ending. You pause, stand straight, stretch your limbs. The fields whisper in the breeze. The tools rest quietly beside you. Your workshop grows warmer, urging you toward a break. It's nearly time to head home for the midday meal, to gather again under shade and hearthlight. But you linger just a moment more, appreciating this hour. The soft weight of exertion in your muscles, the scent of earth or wood on your hands, the glow of sunlight across your face. Half a millennium ago, this is what it means to begin your day. You gather your tools as the sun climbs higher, its warmth shifting from gentle encouragement to something more insistent, like a friend shaking your shoulder a little too enthusiastically. The shadows around you shrink, retreating tightly beneath trees and walls, leaving most of the village bathed in direct, gleaming light. It's time to head home. You dust off your hands, sling your basket over your shoulder, and begin the familiar walk back. The path feels hotter now. The earth radiates warmth through your shoes. The distant hum of insects buzzes steadily, rising and falling like a soft, natural chorus. On your way, you pass neighbors, making the same slow journey home. A man wipes sweat from his brow with a cloth that looks like it has seen better days, many better days, in fact. A woman carries a basket of vegetables balanced effortlessly on her hip, her steps firm despite the heat. Two children run ahead of them, arguing over something that feels extremely important to them and utterly incomprehensible to you. The village fountain is busier than it was earlier. People line up for cool water, splashing their faces, rinsing hands, wetting scarves to drape around their necks. You stop for a moment, dipping your fingers into the stream of cold water flowing from the stone spout. The shock of coolness spreads across your hand, and you inhale sharply, grateful. You fill a cup, drink deeply, and feel relief pool inside you. Someone next to you sighs long, and dramatically after their first sip, and you exchange a small smile, one of those tiny human moments where two strangers understand each other perfectly without a word. You continue toward home. The smells of midday cooking drift through the air, onions sizzling, bread baking, lentils softening in a pot. Your stomach, always a reliable commentator, growls its approval. When you arrive, your home feels cooler than the outside world. The courtyard offers shade beneath the olive tree, and the air beneath its branches is several degrees gentler. You set your tools aside, wash your hands using water poured slowly from a small clay jug, and sit on the mat that's been placed in the shade. Someone ladles out the meal. Lentil stew again, maybe with carrots or herbs added today, maybe with a drizzle of oil reserved for midday. A plate of sliced cucumbers or melon rests beside it, cool, crisp, refreshing. Bread, naturally, is at the center of everything. As you eat, the breeze passes softly through the courtyard, carrying the scent of earth and distant fig orchards. The sounds of the village fade to a drowsy murmur. People have retreated indoors or into the shade, accepting that midday is not a time for ambition, but for stillness. Conversation drifts around you lazily. Someone mentions a merchant arriving tomorrow with pottery from Iznik. Someone else recalls a neighbor's runaway chicken that somehow ended up inside a storage barn and refused to leave without negotiations. The stories float, slow and unhurried, like they know they have all afternoon to make their point. When the bowl's empty, the plates are pushed aside and replaced with a simple drink. Maybe cool water, maybe diluted grape molasses, pekmez sherbeti, offering a touch of sweetness without heaviness. You drink slowly, letting your body relax further. Now comes one of the most sacred rituals of Ottoman village life. The midday rest, or at least the quiet slowing of everything. Work pauses, voices drop. Even the chickens seem to give up on ambition for an hour. You lie back on the mat, the woven fibers pressing gently into your skin. The olive leaves above you flutter, creating shifting patterns of light and shadow that dance across your arms. Cicadas begin their midday chorus, a steady, hypnotic hum that lulls your thoughts into softness. Your eyes drift closed, not into deep sleep, but into that pleasant half-dreaming state where the world feels far away and comfortingly small. Here's your obscure tidbit for this hour. Some households placed fragrant herbs like thyme or mint beneath their pillows or mats during midday rest, believing the scents cleared the mind and protected against heavy dreams. You notice a few sprigs beneath the pillow in the corner, still bright, still fragrant, whether it truly protects your dreams. Historians still debate if this was medicinal, spiritual, or just an early form of aromatherapy. A gentle voice calls your name, bringing you back from the edges of sleep. It's time to get up again, though slowly, gently. You stretch your limbs, feeling the pleasant heaviness of rest tugging at each muscle. When you rise, you pour water over your hands and face, letting the coolness wake you fully. The village is beginning to stir again. You hear the bleat of a goat, the rhythmic thud of a pestle grinding spices, the distant chatter of neighbors resuming their afternoon tasks. You gather your tools. The heat has already begun its slow retreat from its midday peak, and the shadows stretch a little longer now, promising cooler hours ahead. You take one last deep breath of the shaded air, savoring it fully before stepping into the brightness of the afternoon once more. The day continues quietly, steadily just as it has for generations. You step back into the brightness of the afternoon, though it's not quite as fierce as it was an hour ago. The sun has shifted slightly westward, its glare softened, its heat a little less insistent. Even so, the first few steps out of the shaded courtyard feel like stepping into a warm bath someone forgot to let cool. Your tools wait where you left them, patient, dependable, carrying the small scars and smooth edges of long use. You pick them up, feeling the familiar weight settle comfortably into your hands. In this world, tools become extensions of you, shaping both your day and your destiny. The village is waking from its midday lull. A few people stretch outside their doorways. Someone yawns proudly, the kind of yawn long enough to feel like an achievement. Chickens strut out of the shade, pecking at the ground with newfound enthusiasm. Even the donkeys seem slightly more energetic, though energetic for a donkey means they blink twice instead of once. You make your way toward your work fields, workshop, courtyard, or stall. The path is familiar, the dust soft beneath your feet, the air humming with the slow revival of daily labor. Clouds gather lightly on the horizon, grayish smudges, hinting at possible change. Rain later. Someone calls to you as they pass, carrying a bundle of firewood. Or tomorrow, someone else adds. Or not at all, a third person mutters with philosophical resignation. The village meteorological report is, as always, a communal effort. You return to your tasks. In the fields, the crops rustle softly, whispering with every breeze. Their movement is hypnotic, pulling you gently into the rhythm of the afternoon. You stoop to check the soil, loosen it, guide water channels, or gather what needs gathering. Each movement is small, but together they shape the survival of your household. In the workshops, the air is thick with purposeful noise. A carpenter taps his chisel, shaping a beam for a new roof. A weaver works a loom with fluid motions, the wooden shuttle slipping back and forth like a bird through reeds. A potter kneads clay at a low table, rolling it into shape with the calm confidence of someone who has done this for longer than you've been alive. The work is steady, soothing, and even though you may never admit it out loud, almost meditative, there is a quiet dignity in work done without haste or distraction. Your mind settles, your breath deepens. You become part of the afternoon, woven into its pace like a thread in fabric. As you work, a group of children passes by, laughing as they chase a tiny ball of tightly wrapped cloth. The ball flies into the air, bouncing off a stone wall before rolling toward you. You pick it up and toss it back. Their laughter rises again, bright, ringing, absolutely unbothered by responsibility. Nearby, an older woman plucks herbs from her garden, bundling mint, rosemary, and sage with thin strips of fiber. The scent drifts toward you, sharp, comforting, and for a moment, the entire world smells like an apothecary's dream. She glances up and nods. You nod back, as one does when acknowledging a master of plants. Somewhere in the distance, you hear the soft creak of a camel saddle. You turn and see a small caravan approaching, 3 camels, 2 merchants, and a donkey who looks like it regrets its life choices. The merchants wave, calling out offers of dates, cloth, or spices. Their voices carry the unmistakable cadence of travelers who have practiced selling as much as walking. You exchange a few words if time allows. News travels with these caravans. Rumors of a recent victory, a new law in the capital, rising grain prices, or tales of wonders in distant lands, marble cities, bright bazaars, endless deserts, and rivers so wide you can't see the far bank. You listen, intrigued, even if you pretend you're just being polite. Here's your strange cultural tidbit for the afternoon. Some villagers believed that if you saw a falcon circling above your field during afternoon hours, it meant unexpected visitors would arrive soon. You glance up, just in case. No falcon. Only a pair of pigeons arguing about something which probably predicts nothing useful. Historians still debate whether this bird omen was widespread belief or just one village's enthusiastic attempt at meteorology and social forecasting. Work continues. You settle again into familiar motion. Pull, gather, tie, weave, smooth, push, lift, sort, carry. The breeze picks up now, cooler and more purposeful. The clouds on the horizon darken slightly, gathering like a council deciding what to do about the afternoon. A faint rumble of thunder whispers from far away, not threatening, just present. Someone nearby looks up and mutters, "Let it come." Rain, after all, is a blessing in most seasons, even if it complicates the drying of grain, wool, or laundry. You wipe sweat from your brow. The sky dims a fraction. The world shifts into one of those beautiful in-between moments. Light still present, but softened. Heat still lingering, but easing. Work still ongoing, but gentler. You hear the creaking of a distant mill wheel, turning lazily in the wind. As the sun begins its slow descent, your muscles grow tired. Not the sharp, unpleasant ache of strain, but the warm, steady fatigue of a body used fully and well. You pause, resting your weight on your tool, and take in the late afternoon around you. The long shadows beginning to stretch, the low hum of evening insects warming up, the smell of approaching moisture in the air. You realize the day is beginning to fold itself into its next chapter. Soon, the evening routines will call you back, food to prepare, animals to settle, stories to share, lamps to light. But for now, you let the last hours of daylight wash over you. The afternoon settles into its final stretch, and the world begins to release its long-held breath. A cool breeze slides across your skin, light, refreshing, almost mischievous in the way it lifts the edge of your clothing and teases your hair. It's the kind of breeze that makes you pause, close your eyes for a second, and think, yes, now evening can begin. The sky transitions into softer hues, brushing peach and pale gold across the horizon. Shadows grow longer, stretching like sleepy giants waking slowly. The fields, workshops, and courtyards all feel gentler now, as if the land itself is loosening its stiff joints. You wipe your brow with your sleeve, noticing how the heat has finally surrendered its authority. Children who had wilted under the midday sun now reappear, running with renewed energy, chasing each other down the lanes. Their laughter floats through the air like a bright ribbon. You begin packing up your tools. The rake leans against the fence, The basket is emptied. The hoe is cleaned with a worn cloth. You place everything back in its proper spot. 500 years ago, a tool left out overnight doesn't simply wait, it rusts, warps, or invites mischief from animals, weather, or well-meaning children. You treat your tools the way modern people treat their phones, with vigilance bordering on devotion. Around you, others are doing the same. A woman ties up bundles of herbs gathered earlier, hanging them under her porch roof to dry. A man loads his cart with the day's produce, beans, onions, perhaps a squash or two, ready to store them inside. An elderly neighbor walks past you carrying a small wooden pail, nodding with a slow, satisfied smile. The day has been long, but good. As you walk back toward the village center, the air is rich with shifting scents, crushed grass, damp earth, wood smoke drifting from the first evening fires. The faint smell of simmering stew or grilled vegetables sneaks through open windows. Your stomach takes note, humming its approval. You pass the communal well again, remember it? The place where morning chatter filled the air. In the glow of early evening, it looks different, softer, calmer. A few people gather here now, rinsing hands, filling jugs for cooking, or simply cooling their faces. Someone splashes water upward, and droplets catch the golden light before falling like tiny amber beads. A boy, no older than 10, tries to lift a full bucket of water entirely on his own. He manages about 3 inches before physics files a formal complaint. He glances at you hopefully. You help him lift it, and his face lights up in gratitude and triumph. He runs home with the bucket, sloshing half of it out on the way. You smile. Good enough. On your path home, you pass the small mosque again. The courtyard is quiet now, bathed in warm light. A few older men sit in the shade of the wall, talking softly, nothing urgent, nothing dramatic. Just the slow unraveling of thoughts that tend to appear near sunset. One of them waves you over. You join for a short moment, greeting them politely. Long day? One asks. As long as yours, you reply. Impossible, he insists with a grin. They offer you a small handful of roasted chickpeas, a simple snack, crunchy and savory. You accept, because refusing kindness in this hour feels like refusing the evening breeze itself. As you continue walking, the village cat appears, yes. The same one from earlier, the cat with the lofty attitude of an emperor in exile. It approaches with an expression that suggests you are late to an appointment you didn't know existed. You scratch its head respectfully, aware that this is not affection but tribute. The cat accepts your service, then strolls away, tail high. The sky continues its slow transformation, deepening into richer oranges and pinks. The sun hovers just above the hills, dim enough to look at without squinting. This is the moment when the world feels suspended, stretched between the day you've lived and the night you're about to enter. Here is your strange cultural tidbit of the evening. In some Ottoman villages, people avoided whistling after sunset, believing it attracted jinn or wandering spirits. As you pass a group of children, one of them puckers their lips to whistle a tune only to be shushed frantically by a chorus of horrified siblings. Whether the superstition is true or not, historians still debate whether it arose from spiritual beliefs, fear of attracting animals, or an early attempt at maintaining evening peace. Back at your home, light spills out through the open doorway. Someone has already kindled the hearth, and the glow welcomes you like a warm embrace. You step inside, feeling the relief wash over you as the cool air of dusk follows behind. Your family or housemates are preparing the evening meal, carefully slicing herbs, stirring a pot, arranging bread on a platter. You wash your hands, the water running cool over your tired fingers. And then you join them, helping wherever you can. The courtyard is set for dinner. A mat is placed on the ground, bowls arranged neatly, the air fragrant with a meal that's been simmering for hours. You sit, folding your legs beneath you, settling into the comfort of your space, your people, your daily rituals. As the first stars appear overhead, you exhale deeply. The long afternoon has ended. The evening has arrived softly, kindly, exactly as it should. You ease yourself onto the mat as the evening meal is prepared, the courtyard bathed in warm tones from the sinking sun. Shadows weave gently between the olive branches, settling into the corners, like peaceful visitors who intend to stay a while. The faint glow from your hearth mingles with the early starlight above, creating a soft, flickering harmony of warmth and coolness. The aroma rising from the clay pot is rich and comforting. Tonight's meal is a simple but beloved dish, maybe lentils with onions and a hint of cumin, or perhaps a hearty vegetable stew that's slow-cooked through the afternoon, absorbing every bit of flavor it could find. A bowl of olives sits nearby, dark and glossy, waiting to be plucked. Bread, always bread, lies ready to be torn and shared. Your hands move almost automatically, helping arrange bowls and plates. Someone slices a round of cheese with a small, sharp knife. Someone else folds cloths for use as napkins. A younger member of the household hovers near the hearth, waiting for permission to take the first scoop of stew. This permission does not come. It is denied with a single raised eyebrow. You sit with everyone else, cross-legged, feeling the woven mat beneath you and the warm night air around you. The food is served, and you take your first bite warm, savory, grounding. Every flavor feels amplified by the hunger you earned through the day's work. Conversation begins slowly, as it always does during the first few mouthfuls. People recount small details from their day, nothing dramatic, just the steady sharing of lived experience. Did you see the sky this morning? It was pink. The good kind of pink. The goats escaped again. It wasn't my fault this time. It's always your fault. The soft rhythm of teasing makes you smile. Half a millennium ago, this is how families bind themselves together. Small jokes, shared meals, laughter offered freely and accepted like bread. As the bowls empty, someone brings out a small plate of dates or dried figs. They are sweet and sticky, the perfect quiet finish to a meal. You chew slowly, savoring the taste as the night deepens around you. Here comes tonight's obscure tidbit. In some Ottoman households, people believed that if you left a small piece of bread uncovered on the table overnight, it invited blessings because bread, being considered sacred, symbolized prosperity. One elder in your home quietly sets aside a tiny piece, placing it near the edge of the mat. No, one comments on it. It's simply tradition, old and gentle. Historians still debate whether this was a spiritual practice or just a cautious superstition rooted in the reverence for sustenance. When the meal is done, the dishes are collected into a single shallow basin for washing later. A clay oil lamp is lit, its flame dancing gracefully atop a floating wick. The lamp's glow stretches across the courtyard, painting warm amber lines on the walls and casting soft shadows that sway like slow-moving ghosts. The night is comfortably cool now. A few crickets join the evening choir. A dog barks once in the distance, then decides that is enough responsibility for today. A donkey lets out a tired sigh that somehow sounds judgmental. With the work of eating complete, the work of storytelling begins. Someone leans back, resting against a folded cushion, and begins recounting a tale from their youth. It is a story you've heard before, everyone has, but repetition is part of its charm. You remember old Kamal from the next village? The one with the incredible mustache? You nod. Kamal's mustache is famous, even across hills. Well, he once tried to ride a horse that wasn't a horse. You already know where this story goes, but the details shift each time. Sometimes the animal is a stubborn mule, sometimes an angry bull, sometimes a surprisingly patient camel. Tonight, it's a mule with strong opinions and no respect for vanity. Laughter rolls through the courtyard, soft and genuine. Someone adds their own embellishment. Someone else insists it happened differently. The story grows a little taller with every retelling. Next, a younger voice chimes in, eager to contribute a tale of something that happened near the market or the well, probably involving animals behaving poorly. These stories rarely have morals. They exist purely for amusement. You listen, smiling, letting the warmth of company soak into your bones. The oil lamp flickers, shrinking, slightly as the night deepens. Another lamp is lit and placed nearby, adding to the golden glow that wraps around your little gathering like a warm shawl. After the laughter fades, someone recites a short poem or proverb, maybe one they learned from their parents, maybe one passed down through neighbors or traveling storytellers. Patience, they say, is the key to a door you can't see. You nod solemnly, though you're not entirely sure what the door is. The beauty of proverbs is that you don't have to understand them immediately. They wait politely for interpretation. The sky above is now fully dark, stars scattered like silver beads across a deep velvet cloth. You can see the faint, shimmering path of the Milky Way stretching overhead, tracing a line from one end of the horizon to the other. The conversation grows quieter now. People settle deeper into their seats, resting their arms, stretching their legs, letting the fullness of the meal and the coolness of the night lull them toward calm. Someone stands to bank the fire, adjusting logs with practiced motions, coaxing just enough flame for warmth without waking the entire village with sparks. A soft breeze moves through the courtyard again, carrying the scent of herbs and distant orchards. Lamps flicker, voices soften. The world slides gently toward rest. You feel it too, that pleasant heaviness, the slow unwinding of thoughts, the settling of breath. Evening has wrapped itself around you completely, like a warm blanket woven from stories, food, and the quiet presence of people you trust. Soon, it will be time to retire indoors, to prepare for sleep once again. But for now, you linger in the comfortable glow of the courtyard, letting the night unfold with slow, deliberate tenderness. The courtyard grows even quieter, as if the night has exhaled and is now waiting patient, still, expectant. The oil lamps flicker in gentle rhythm, their flames bending and stretching with each passing breeze. A few moths circle them lazily, wings catching the golden light before flickering back into darkness. You rise from your spot on the woven mat, feeling your legs adjust after sitting for so long. The warm heaviness of dinner lingers pleasantly in your stomach. You help gather bowls and plates, stacking them neatly near the water jug for cleaning. Every move feels slower now, softened by the creeping calm of night. Someone pours a little warm water into a shallow basin. Hands are washed one pair after another, rinsing away the last traces of bread and oil. The water is then tossed carefully along the side of the courtyard wall, where thirsty plants wait silently for anything they can get. Above you, stars shine in quiet constellations. They hang so clearly in the dark, unpolluted sky that it feels strange to imagine people centuries ahead barely seeing them at all. You tilt your head back, taking in the glittering spread, a tapestry older than every story you've heard. Tonight. Inside the house, someone lights another lamp, its glow spilling softly onto the floor. The shadows stretch and shrink in gentle waves. A family member rolls out thin mattresses and cushions, airing them briefly near the doorway. Even this small gesture feels like part of the nightly rhythm, a ritual polished by repetition. You help shake out one of the blankets. Dust dances in the air, catching the lamplight like tiny floating sparks. You fold the edges, smoothing the fabric with your palms. The straw mattress beneath it crinkles faintly, familiar and oddly comforting. Next to you, someone adjusts a small wooden chest, placing it at the foot of the sleeping space. Inside are the things your household values most. Spare clothing, small coins, a few pieces of jewelry, handwritten notes or charms. None of it is extravagant by modern standards. But here, half a millennium ago, each item carries weight, memory, purpose. The hearth crackles quietly. Someone adds a small piece, kind of wood not enough to grow the fire, just enough to keep it breathing through the night. The smell of smoke drifts lazily through the room, weaving itself into the air like a familiar lullaby. Here comes tonight's curious cultural detail. It was common in some Ottoman households to place a small copper bowl of water near the doorway at night, believing it would collect any stray negative energy that tried to enter. You watch as an elder carefully fills a tiny bowl and sets it near the threshold. No one questions the gesture. It is old, gentle, and comforting. Whether it works or not, historians still debate if this ritual guarded against spirits, misfortune, or simply midnight drafts. After the bowl is placed, another small ritual begins. Someone hums a short tune, almost like a prayer, almost like a lullaby, while tucking the smallest of the children into their sleeping corner. The melody is soft and repetitive, threading through the room as smoothly as a shuttle across a loom. The tune has no official name, but everyone knows it. Everyone grows up with it. You settle onto your own mattress, feeling the slight unevenness beneath you, lumps of straw that have migrated during the day. You shift a little until you find a spot that feels like home. The blanket warms quickly against your body. Around you, the room fills with soft sounds. The slow exhale of someone stretching beneath their blanket, the tiny pop of a stray ember, the distant, muffled bleat of an animal settling in its pen. A faint chorus of insects outside, singing a tune older than the empire itself. A woman in the household recites a brief phrase, half prayer, half blessing, asking for peace through the night. The words flow gently, carried on a tone so soothing that even the shadows seem to dim and bow at its sound. Someone glances through the window at the sky and murmurs, "Clear." Another replies, "Good. Tomorrow will be warm." You lie down fully now, resting your head on a samad, small stuffed cushion. Its fabric smells faintly of herbs and sun. Your blanket rises and falls with each slow breath you take. As your eyes begin to grow heavy, you hear a soft knock at the door. Not urgent, just the kind of knock used by neighbors who know better than to interrupt loudly at night. Someone rises quietly to answer. The voice outside explains they needed to borrow a bit of salt or a cup of flour. The request is granted graciously. Hospitality does not turn off with the sun. The door closes again, gently. The room settles back into stillness. Your mind drifts, not yet asleep, but floating in that delicious twilight place where thoughts feel soft and light. You remember the morning prayer, the heat of midday, the cool breeze of evening. You remember the sound of the market, the taste of the bread, the laughter over dinner. This entire day, your entire life, really unfolds like a circle. Work, prayer, meals, stories, rest. A cycle without urgency, without haste. Just steady, patient living. The oil lamp flickers once, twice, then steadies. You exhale deeply, sinking further into the mattress. Your body unwinds fully now. The night folds around you like a cloak, soft and warm and ancient. Tomorrow will come with its own rhythm, but tonight belongs to quiet, to stillness, to sleep. The world settles so deeply into night that it feels like the air itself has fallen asleep. Your breathing slows. The warmth from the small hearth mixes with the cool breeze slipping through the shutters, creating a gentle balance that feels engineered for rest. Most of the household sleeps now quiet, steady shapes beneath blankets. The shared room is dim, lit only by the faint glow of a dying ember. You lie still, not yet fully awake, not fully asleep, hovering in that soft space where dreams and consciousness blend like watercolor. But something nudges you not urgently, just enough to pull you from your drifting thoughts. A shift in the wind, a creak from outside, the distant sound of something moving through the village, too soft to be alarming, too steady to ignore. Slowly, carefully, you rise from your mattress. The floor is cool beneath your feet, grounding you in the present. You step around sleeping forms and ease open the wooden door. It groans faintly. You wince, then wait. No one stirs. Outside, the night is darker than ink. Moonlight spills across the rooftops in thin silver ribbons. The streets are empty, but the dust glows faintly beneath the moon, like powdered pearl. Somewhere, a dog lets out a low, half-hearted bark, then gives up the idea altogether. You step into the courtyard, the stones cool and slightly damp beneath your toes. The olive tree rustles overhead, whispering secrets to the breeze. You glance toward the sky tonight. The stars look impossibly bright, as if someone has polished them for your benefit. This is the hour when the village reveals its quietest soul. No market cries, no tools striking wood. No conversations drifting above fences. Only the steady pulse of a world sleeping. You take a few slow steps toward the street, drawn by the faint glow of a lantern. The night watchman again walking with unhurried steps, his staff tapping gently on the ground, in a rhythm so consistent it could be mistaken for a lullaby. He spots you and lifts the lantern slightly. "Couldn't sleep? Just woke up for a moment," you whisper back. He nods knowingly. The night has a way of calling some people. The lantern light catches droplets of dew forming on the grass, turning them into tiny beads that shimmer briefly before the darkness swallows them back. The watchman continues down the street, checking doors, glancing into alleyways, humming quietly. You follow the path to the outer edge of the village. Not far, just far enough to see the outlines of the fields under moonlight. The crops stand still, a dark sea swaying gently in the faint breeze. The irrigation channels reflect sky like narrow silver rivers. You inhale deeply. The smells at this hour are different. Cool earth, faint water, a hint of wild thyme crushed under someone's step earlier. It's a scent found only in places where the night remains untouched by lamps, engines, or noise. a scent that has existed across centuries. As you stand there, you notice movement near the tree line. Just the silhouette of a shepherd making a final check on his livestock. You can hear the soft clinking of bells tied to the necks of a few restless animals. The shepherd waves when he sees you. You return the gesture silently. There's no need for conversation at this hour. Here comes your obscure tidbit of the night. Some Ottoman villagers believed that the quietest moment of the night, when even the insects pause, was a sacred breath in the world's rhythm, a time when prayers spoken softly were carried farther than usual. Historians still debate whether this belief emerged from mystic traditions, poetic imagination, or simply the human habit of assigning meaning to silence. You stand still, listening. And for a moment, the world does pause brief, perfect stillness wrapping around you like a soft cloak. You return to your courtyard, walking slowly, savoring every cool step. The turtle, your philosopher companion, emerges from beneath its shelter, blinking slowly at the moonlight as if evaluating whether this hour merits its attention. It decides it does not, and retreats again. Wise creature. Inside, the house remains quiet. A few breaths rise and fall in rhythm. The oil lamp has burned out completely, leaving the room lit only by faint lunar glow. You slip back to your mattress, sliding beneath your blanket, feeling the warmth embrace you immediately. The straw shifts beneath you, prickly but honest, like an old friend who refuses to pretend. You adjust your pillow, feeling the faint scent of time tucked under its edge. Your body softens, your breath deepens, your mind drifts, again, pulled gently by the gravity of sleep. This time, there is no interruption. The village holds you, the night protects you, the empire dreams with you. Your eyelids grow heavy, your thoughts blur. The world fades into soft darkness. Midnight in an Ottoman village is not loud, dramatic, or restless. It is still, tender, ancient, a perfect cradle for rest. You wake to faint light, not the piercing brightness of full morning, but the gentle bloom of dawn stretching its fingers across the sky. The room is cool, the hearth reduced to a few soft embers, glowing like tiny sleeping creatures. You stretch beneath your blanket, joints whispering their quiet protests, but your body feels restored, renewed by sleep wrapped in deep night silence. Today feels different the moment you sit up. There's a faint hum in the air, not sound exactly, but anticipation. A subtle energy that runs through the walls, down the hall, and into your bones. Because today is Market Day. Half a millennium ago, Market Day isn't just an errand. It's an event, a celebration, a miniature festival woven into the fabric of weekly life. Families rise earlier, voices murmur more quickly, chores happen with unusual enthusiasm, and everyone's mind drifts toward the stalls they'll visit and the gossip they'll gather. You stand, rubbing your eyes as you look. Around the dim room, the others in your household stir two soft yawns. A few quiet words. Someone stretching like a cat after a long nap. The scent of cool morning air slips through the shutters, carrying with it the promise of fresh produce, baked bread, new fabrics, and stories waiting to be overheard. You step into the courtyard. The sky is blue-grey, with a thin streak of gold on the horizon. The olive tree above you rustles softly in the pre-sun breeze. The ground beneath your feet still holds nighttime chill. Someone is already lighting the morning fire, carefully placing twigs, blowing softly until the coals glow brighter. Flames flicker upward, painting the courtyard walls with soft amber. Soon, the familiar scent of smoke fills the air, warm and grounding. Breakfast will be quicker today. No long conversations, no lingering at the table. Market day requires energy and early departure. You wash your face in cool water, the shock of it sending a bracing shiver down your spine. Then you help with the first tasks, carrying water, slicing bread, checking the food packed for the journey. When you enter the kitchen area, a small feast is already in motion. Fresh flatbread warmed on the pan, a small bowl of cheese, olives, maybe a bit of honey, if luck was on your side this week. You eat simply but gratefully, sipping warm herbal tea to wake your senses. As everyone finishes quickly, someone ties a cloth bundle filled with nuts or dried fruit to take on the road. Another person places coins into a small pouch and tucks it safely beneath their belt. Market day often means purchases and bargaining, and sometimes the thrill of returning home with a small delight you didn't expect. Once the meal is done, you all begin preparing to leave. The courtyard becomes a swirl of motion. Fabric bundles tied shut, baskets checked, scarves adjusted, shoes tightened. There's an unspoken excitement in every movement. Here's your odd cultural tidbit for today. Many Ottoman villagers believed that carrying a sprig of basil or mint on market day brought good fortune and prevented overspending. You notice someone slip a tiny sprig into the edge of their sash while pretending to be subtle. Whether it works or not, historians still debate whether this was superstition, aroma preference, or a very old form of budgeting advice. Once everyone is ready, you step out into the lane. The village is already alive. Doors open, animals shifting in their pens, neighbors calling greetings across courtyards. You join a small group walking toward the main road. The air buzzes gently, not noisy, but full of the collective anticipation of dozens of households heading toward the same destination. Along the path, you see others merging in. A family leading 2 donkeys. A woman carrying a basket of eggs wrapped carefully in straw. A pair of brothers balancing a crate of vegetables between them. A shepherd guiding a few goats that have the energy of small, determined thunderstorms. As you walk, the sun rises higher, brushing the fields with new color. The world feels fresh, rewound by the night, and spun forward by purpose. The path narrows briefly, winding between low stone walls, then opens again into a vast stretch of open land. You see the distant outlines of the market town, its rooftops preparing to catch the morning light. People ahead of you walk faster, energized by the sight. The market itself sits like a living creature in the distance, growing larger with every step. Here, the landscape broadens into fields that will soon be filled with wandering animals and tethered carts. You hear the faint rise of distant voices, the earliest vendors claiming their spaces. A donkey brays impressively, as if appointed herald of the day's commerce. As you draw closer, your heart beats with that quiet excitement that only market day creates. Not because you expect something grand, but because the ordinary world will feel just a little bigger, a little wider, a little fuller today. The market is still waking, but alive enough to pull you forward. You adjust the strap of your basket, tighten your grip on your pouch of coins, and take a deep breath of morning air scented with dust, dew, and the first hint of spices on the wind. You're not just walking to the market. You're walking into the center of the week's stories. You follow the flow of villagers down the road until the market town rises fully before you alive, bustling, stretching itself awake with the noisy enthusiasm that only a weekly market can muster. The closer you get, the louder everything becomes. Voices overlapping in lively chatter, the rhythmic thud of cartwheels bumping over uneven stones, and the unmistakable sound of someone loudly insisting their vegetables are superior to all other known vegetables. The entrance to the market is framed by rows of vendor carts, simple wooden stalls, and awnings made from woven cloth. The early sunlight catches on, hanging copper pots, gleaming like tiny suns suspended above the crowd. Brightly colored fabrics ripple in the breeze, shifting between blues, reds, and muted greens like a patchwork sky lowered to human height. You step under the first row of awnings and immediately feel the energy change. It's warmer here, thicker, buzzing with human presence. The market is not a place for stillness. It moves, it breathes, it wraps around you with all its scents, textures, sounds, and stories. A spice merchant calls out first, waving you over with dramatic flair. He displays small hills of color, saffron, cumin, paprika, turmeric, each arranged more beautifully than the last. The air around the stall smells like a tiny portal to every distant corner of the empire. You won't find fresher cumin this side of Bursa, he declares. You take a polite sniff. It is, indeed, excellent cumin. Still, you respond with the traditional non-committal shrug that means, maybe, but I'm definitely not, paying your first price. You move on, swept forward by the current of people. To your left, a woman sells pomegranates piled high in a woven basket. Their skins glow like polished jewels, promising sweet, ruby-red seeds inside. To your right, a man sharpens knives on a stone wheel, the metal ringing as he lifts each blade to inspect it under the sunlight. His movements are precise, elegant, practiced like a silent dance with steel. The noise rises and falls in waves. Sellers shout their deals, buyers argue. Children weave between legs like swift little fish. Someone's goat escapes, and an entire submarket drama unfolds as three adults chase it past the pottery stand. The potter does not appreciate this. You step around them, smiling. Market day is never predictable. That's half the fun. In the center of the square, textile merchants unfurl rolls of fabric in rich patterns, intricate floral designs, geometric shapes, and deep indigo-dyed cloth that seems to swallow the light. Women run the material through their fingers, judging its strength. Feel this, one merchant insists, handing you a strip of linen. It's smooth, sturdy. You nod. He beams. Exactly. You have good taste. You're pretty sure he says that to everyone, but it still feels nice to hear. And here, woven into the tapestry of marketplaces across the Ottoman world, comes today's major historical fact. By the 1500s, Ottoman markets operated under strict regulations enforced by the Kader, local judge, who monitored prices, weights, and fairness to protect both sellers and buyers. You notice an official-looking man standing near a spice stall, arms crossed, making sure no one's cheating on their scales. Even in a world full of bargaining and lively theatrics, rules matter. You wander toward the food stalls. The smell of grilled meat drifts through the air, mingling with the scent of fresh bread still warm from nearby ovens. Vendors fry small pastries in shallow pans, flipping them with practiced flicks of the wrist. The aroma wraps around you like a warm embrace. Your stomach growls, loudly, which is perfectly acceptable on market day. A vendor selling fried dough smiles and holds one up. For you, today fresh as sunrise. You buy one, tasting the crisp outside and soft, sweet interior. It is heavenly, maybe divine, absolutely worth every coin. You move deeper into the market. Animals bleat from the livestock section. Copper clinks from a metalworker's stall. A musician plucks a lute, playing a melody that distracts half the crowd and makes a few people sway without realizing it. And then an unexpected moment of small wonder. A traveling storyteller stands near the edge of the square, voice rising above the din as he recounts a tale of far-off cities, brave heroes, or cunning foxes. Children gather instantly, eyes wide. Adults pretend not to listen while very much listening. One of his stories ends with a twist so clever you can't help but laugh. The storyteller hears you and winks. Stories are currency here, as precious as coins. You continue weaving through the sea of merchants, your senses soaking up everything. The day warms as the sun climbs higher, but the energy of the market only grows stronger. And here comes your obscure tidbit. In some Ottoman regions, people believed that if you rubbed a coin between your palms before making your first purchase of the day, it ensured good bargains until sunset. You notice an older woman doing exactly that near the bread stall. Her face is determined. She will get her discount. Whether the superstition works or not, historians still debate whether this was a magical belief or simply an early strategy for psychological confidence. After browsing more stalls, clay pots, woven baskets, embroidered handkerchiefs, you reach the far end of the market, where the noise is just a touch quieter. This is where people trade news. Whose relative returned from the city? Which caravan brought rare goods? What the weather might be tomorrow? And, inevitably, who is getting married to whom? Information moves faster here than any caravan horse. Your basket is fuller now, some spices, fresh vegetables, a new cloth for home, maybe a small treat. Your pouch of coins is lighter, but your heart is fuller than both. Market day is nourishment beyond food. The sun begins to angle westward again. Vendors start slowing their calls. People drift toward the road home. You take a final look back, the noise, the colors, the movement. It feels like a living painting, one that changes every week but always carries the same heartbeat. You turn toward the village path. The walk home will be quieter, gentler, filled with the satisfying weight of a day well spent. You leave the market with your basket a little heavier, your pouch a little lighter, and your spirits remarkably buoyant. Market day always has that effect, like the world briefly opened itself wider and let you peek into its many corners. Now, as you step onto the road leading back to the village, everything feels softer, quieter, and pleasantly full. The sun is beginning its descent toward the west, turning the fields into long stretches of warm gold. Shadows lean across the road like sleepy travelers resting their limbs. The breeze, which stayed shy all morning, finally returns with a gentle sweep that cools your arms and lifts the edge of your scarf. A few villagers walk alongside you. You all fall into a natural, unspoken formation, not too close, not too far. Comfortable spacing perfected over years of shared journeys. Someone behind you hums a tune picked up from a market musician. The melody floats ahead, drifting like a bit of song the wind forgot to carry away. The initial chatter begins almost immediately. What did you buy? Only things we actually needed. You say that every week. Well, and these olives. They insisted on coming home with us. Everyone has something to show, even if it's small. A new wooden spoon, a few fresh dates, a spool of thread colored just a little differently than what they already had. Half a millennium ago, these tiny acquisitions feel like treasures, tokens of a day lived out loud. As you walk, laughter travels up and down the line of people. Someone tells a story from earlier in the market. A goat knocking over baskets. A man trying to sell miracle dates that tasted suspiciously normal. A traveling merchant boasting he'd been to Persia when he very clearly had not been anywhere further than the next province. The road curves through open fields. Wheat ripples softly in the breeze, shimmering like golden waves. Birds swoop overhead, heading back to their nests with the heavy, proud flapping of creatures who believe themselves important, and to be fair, they are. You shift your basket against your hip. The handle has warmed from your palm, and you can smell the faint aroma of herbs and fruit from within. The scent blends with the smells of earth and summer grass. Behind you, someone calls out, "Wait! I almost forgot, look what I got." You turn to see an older man triumphantly lifting a tiny copper cup. "Isn't it beautiful?" "It's very small," someone replies. He nods proudly. "Perfect for exactly one sip of sherbet." Everyone accepts this logic immediately. This is market day. Small pleasures don't need justification. The walk continues. You pass a young shepherd guiding his flock back towards sheltered fields. The sheep bleat in a rolling chorus, their voices carrying across the land like an oddly charming warning siren. The shepherd waves at your group, and you wave back. A little further on, you see a cart stuck in the mud, its wheel halfway sunken in. The cart lurches free with a satisfying squelch, sending a spray of mud onto your shoes. You shrug. Mud happens. The cart driver thanks you all with dramatic gratitude as if you rescued him from imminent doom. This is the rhythm of life here. Communal help, communal stories, communal movement. The empire is enormous, but your world, your everyday, is built from these tiny knots of connection tied along dusty roads. Here's your odd cultural detail of this hour. Some Ottoman villagers believed that placing a sprig of rosemary in the basket after market day protected the household from overspending and from bringing home unwanted spirits. As you glance into your basket, you notice someone in the household has already tucked in a small piece without telling you. Whether it's for spirits or spending, historians still debate whether it was sincere belief or simply tradition disguised as household budgeting. The sun dips lower still. The light softens into amber and rose. Your village appears in the distance, small houses clustered together like a handful of pebbles, scattered thoughtfully across the earth. Smoke drifts from a chimney or two. The first signs that dinner preparations have already begun for those who stayed behind. The walk grows quieter. People peel off in different directions as their homes come into view. They lift their baskets, wave goodbye, promise to share stories tomorrow. Some carry their purchases with pride, others with relief. Everyone with gentle fatigue. As you step into your own courtyard, the cool evening air wraps around you. You set your basket down with a soft thud. A family member rushes over immediately, asking, "What did you bring?" You grin, pulling items out one by one, letting them react to each one with wild enthusiasm or mock outrage depending on what it is. "You didn't." "I absolutely did." "Oh, but that's wonderful." "Yes, I know." The courtyard glows with fading light. A pot hangs over the fire. The smell of onions sizzling in oil drifts through the air, prompt, welcoming, familiar. Dinner preparations resume around you. You put away the items you bought. Bread in the clay jar, fabric folded neatly, spices stored carefully, fruit placed in a bowl. Everything has a place. Everything adds a little more texture to the home. As night slips closer, the memories of the market crowd your mind like warm, pleasant echoes. The colors, the noise, the bargains, the shared excitement, the laughter on the road home. The world feels bigger after a day like this, and somehow more intimate too. The village settles into its evening shape, as if exhaling all at once. Smoke rises from scattered chimneys, curling lazily upward into the dimming sky. Families return to their courtyards, carrying baskets, bundles, and stories. Market day, with all its noise and colour, begins to fade into a warm, satisfying memory, like the aftertaste of a good meal, lingering just long enough to make you smile. Your courtyard glows with the soft amber of the hearth. Someone inside is stirring a pot. Tonight's dinner is already underway, simmering contentedly. The smell of spices mingles with the faint sweetness of fruit you bought earlier. A breeze drifts through, carrying the first breath of nighttime cool over your skin. Before anything else, you sit down on the woven mat and begin sorting through the contents of your basket. It's a small ritual, but a meaningful one. Half a millennium ago, every purchase carries weight. Every new item must be placed carefully, introduced into the rhythm of the household. You lift the fabric first folded cloth dyed a muted shade of rose. Someone in your home gasps softly, fingers tracing the pattern with reverence. They hold it up to the fading sunlight, watching how the color shifts. "It's beautiful," they murmur. You nod, pleased. Next come the spices, the small paper-wrapped packets that release aroma even before you open them. Cumin, sumac, maybe a pinch of pepper. Your kitchen will smell richer for days because of them. Someone takes the packets and tucks them into a wooden box lined with cloth, smiling the whole time. Then the fruit, fresh, plump, picked only this morning. A young cousin or sibling grabs one immediately, asking with their eyes rather than words. You pretend to think about it, then hand them the fruit with exaggerated seriousness. They run off, triumphant, biting into it like they've won a contest. You also reveal a single small treat you bought for yourself. Perhaps a sweet pastry wrapped in paper, or a handful of roasted nuts, or a tiny charm made from blue glass. The others tease you affectionately. You said you weren't going to buy anything extra. Yes, you reply calmly. But then it looked at me. They laugh, because on market day, impulse purchases are practically a cultural requirement. As you sort the last items, someone brings you a cup of warm herbal tea. The steam curls upward like a gentle question. You sip it slowly, feeling the warmth spill into your chest. Outside, the sky shifts from blue to lavender, then to a deep shade of indigo. The first star appears, tiny but confident. Others gather around it, twinkling softly. You stretch your tired legs and lean back on your hands, letting the sight settle your mind. People in nearby homes talk and laugh, their voices carrying through the open air. Someone plays a simple melody on a ney flute, the notes drifting like smoke through the village. A dog barks once, receives no reply, and decides silence is more productive. Soon, dinner is served. It's lighter than the midday meal, but no less comforting. A warm vegetable stew, some bread, slices of cheese, maybe a handful of olives. You sit with your family, dipping bread into the broth, sharing quiet reflections on the day. "Did you hear the storyteller?" Someone asks. You nod. "He made half the market laugh." "I hope he returns next week." "He will," someone says confidently, though no one actually knows. But confidence makes everything sound true. As dinner winds down, you help clear the bowls and sweep the courtyard. The simple tasks feel grounding after a day filled with movement. Your body finds its rhythm again. Clean, sort, fold, stack. The same motions you perform every evening. But tonight, they feel more tender somehow, like a way of telling the house you're home. Now comes tonight's strange and charming tidbit. In some Ottoman households, people sprinkled a tiny pinch of salt in the corners of the courtyard after market day to keep what was gained and invite more. You watch as an elder does exactly this, moving with deliberate steps, scattering small pinches of salt in each corner. Whether this tradition protects your purchases or simply feels like a comforting ritual, historians still debate its origins. When everything is done, you step back outside for a breath of fresh air. The village rests under a canopy of stars now, each one crisp and bright against the dark. The moon hangs low, silver and serene. You hear the distant river murmuring softly, joined by the chirping of night insects warming up for their nocturnal performance. Your muscles ache pleasantly from the day's journey. Your feet feel tired but satisfied. Emotionally, you feel full not just from food, but from movement, color, noise, and shared stories. Market day leaves its imprint on everyone. A small renewal of community spirit. Inside, others begin settling in for the night. You place your new items carefully in their designated spots. Cloth folded neatly, spices arranged in the box, fruit placed in a bowl by the hearth. You smooth the fabric of your sleeping blanket and fluff your small cushion. You take one last look around the quiet courtyard. The air feels gentle across your skin. The night is deepening, embracing the village in its soft, velvety calm. Your home glows softly from the remaining lamplight. Your family talks in quiet tones. Your heart feels anchored and peaceful. Market day has ended, but its warmth lingers. The courtyard is nearly silent now, its stones cooling beneath the deepening night. The moon hangs low and bright, casting pale silver across the rooftops and painting long, soft shadows that stretch toward the olive tree. The air feels cleaner, somehow washed by the day's excitement, ready for a slower rhythm. You sit near the doorway, letting the nighttime breeze brush gently across your cheeks. Somewhere in the distance, a rooster makes a confused noise, immediately regretting it. A dog sighs loudly, as if the weight of the entire empire rests on its furry shoulders. The insects begin their chorus, clicking and humming in perfect, drowsy harmony. Inside, the others begin preparing for sleep. Blankets are unfurled, pillows adjusted, a small lamp placed near the hearth. The glow of its tiny flame flickers across the walls, painting the room in gold and amber. Shadows move with each gesture, soft as if afraid to disturb the peace. You step inside as well. The day has been long, joyful, noisy, full of movement and color, and the contrast of the quiet room feels like stepping into warm water. You breathe deeply, letting the weight of the day settle comfortably over your shoulders. But before sleep comes the evening's soft rituals, the ones that close the day like the final stitches on a piece of cloth. You kneel near the water basin and wash your hands and face. The water is cool, refreshing, a gentle reminder that the world slows at night. You use your sleeve to dab the droplets from your forehead. Then you smooth your hair back into place, simply out of habit. In the corner, someone folds the cloth you bought at the market, running their hand across its surface with the same care given to prized belongings. They smile, quietly pleased, grateful. No one says much, but appreciation fills the room like incense. Tonight's dinner dishes are already washed and resting upside down to dry. The courtyard has been swept, the fire banked to a warm glow. Everything is in its place. Life here thrives on the comfort of knowing the home is ready for the night. A family member begins to hum an old tune low, steady, one passed down through generations. Its melody is simple, made of repeating notes that settle into your bones like soft sand settling at the bottom of a clear bowl. Everyone knows this tune. It's a kind of collective exhale after a long day. You take your seat near the hearth and begin sorting through your small purchases again. Not because they need sorting, but because this is when the joy of them fully sinks in. You unwrap the spices carefully and inhale their warmth. Cumin, sumac, maybe dried mint. You rub a pinch between your fingers, watching the powder catch the lamplight. Then comes tonight's curious tidbit. Some Ottoman villagers believed that warming new spices briefly over the hearth flame introduced them to the household, ensuring their flavors remained strong and their blessings shared. You watch as someone does exactly that, lifting a small piece of folded cloth containing spices over the embers for a few seconds. The aroma deepens instantly, filling the room with an earthy, ancient warmth. Whether this ritual truly strengthened the flavor or simply strengthened the moment, historians still debate the purpose behind it. Afterward, you place the herbs and cloth into their boxes, tying each neatly. Everything finds its home. The conversations fade into softer murmurs. People recall one or two final stories from the market, the man selling tiny copper cups, the storyteller with the sly wink, the merchant insisting he had seen lands he absolutely had not seen. These memories feel fresher now that the noise is gone, like fruit tasting sweeter after a moment of calm. You stretch your arms slowly, feeling the pleasant ache of the day's walking and lifting and laughing. Your legs feel warm, heavy, ready to rest. You stand for a moment, glancing through the open doorway toward the complete sky. The stars look clearer now, thousands of tiny lights shimmering in the blackness like scattered pearls. A slight chill moves through the room, prompting someone to close the shutters halfway. The faint clunk of wood and the soft scrape of metal against metal say everything the night needs to hear. The house is closing its eyes. Before you lie down, you help adjust the hearth, moving the embers a little, setting a small log beside them so they'll fade slowly rather than abruptly. The fire glows with a sleepy pulse, casting a warm path across the floor. Your straw mattress waits in its corner. The blanket you folded earlier has kept its warmth. You sit on the edge, then lie back, feeling the familiar texture embrace you. The pillow smells faintly of dried herbs, mint or thyme, or something soothing that has become part of your nightly comfort. Someone nearby recites a short prayer or whispered phrase, just a few lines, asking for peace, protection, and easy dreams. The sound is soft, not ceremonious, more like a gentle reminder that the day is ending properly. The room grows quieter still. The last conversations fade. The lamp dims, then flickers out entirely. Darkness covers the space in a soft, velvety embrace, lit only by the faintest glow of the hearth. You inhale deeply, letting the cool night settle into your lungs. Your eyes grow heavy. Your limbs relax fully. The world outside continues its quiet rhythm. A night bird calls once. Wind brushes gently against the shutters. A dog shifts in its sleep. Inside the house, peace rests in every corner. Market day is complete. Every step walked, every coin spent, every story shared, every ritual honored. You are full. You are calm. You are exactly where you need to be. The night drifts away so gently that you barely notice its passing. A faint, pale light seeps through the shutters, brushing the room in soft grey blue. You don't wake all at once. Your mind rises slowly, like a lantern lifted through water. The dream you are having dissolves quietly, replaced by the familiar murmur of a village stretching toward morning. You open your eyes. The hearth is little more than cooled ash now, but the air still remembers its warmth. A few people in your household stir. Someone yawns. Someone stretches. Someone else sits up abruptly. As if remembering an urgent task, though, half a millennium ago, most urgent tasks involve water, goats, or bread, which is reassuring in its own way. You sit up, rubbing the sleep from your eyes. Your blanket slips from your shoulders, releasing the leftover warmth from the night. The smell of the house is faintly smoky, mixed with the herbal scent of the dried mint tucked near the hearth. The previous day's excitement, the bustle of the market, the laughter on the road home, the glow of evening stories has settled in your bones like a pleasant ache. Today feels quieter, grounded, almost introspective. Market day is a high note. The day after is a gentle glide back into routine. You step outside into the courtyard. Dawn is not fully here yet. The sky is a watercolor of soft purples and pale yellows. The olive tree rustles lightly, greeting the breeze with sleepy leaves. The stones under your feet are cool, holding the last memory of night. You breathe in deeply. The air smells clean, washed, as if the world refreshed itself while you slept. Somewhere in the distance, a rooster clears its throat, metaphorically, before beginning its overly enthusiastic morning announcements. You sigh. Some parts of life never change. Inside, someone begins the morning fire. They strike flint, coaxing sparks into a small pile of tinder. It catches slowly, glowing orange, then crackling softly. The fire builds with a warmth that pulls you gently toward it. Cooking will begin soon, bread warmed on the pan, perhaps eggs if the chickens were generous, or maybe leftover stew revived with a splash of water. You wash your face with cold water from the jug, letting the chill fully wake your senses. You smooth your hair and adjust your clothing. Then, without needing to speak, you begin the morning tasks. Today's tasks are quieter, slower, less urgent, the kind of work that rebuilds normal rhythm after a day of excitement. You check the animals first. The goats blink at you with suspicious intelligence. The chickens hop from their roosts with dramatic flair, as if auditioning for a role in a farmyard opera. You gather eggs carefully and refresh their feed, then you fetch water from the jug for washing and cooking. You notice the level is low, so you set aside time for a trip to the village fountain later. You mentally map the path, though you've walked it thousands of times, and list what needs to be carried. The first meal of the day is simple and warm. Bread, cheese, olives, maybe a drizzle of grape molasses, if there's enough. You tear your bread into small pieces, dipping them into a bowl of warm broth. The flavor is soft, comforting, steady, perfect for a morning that demands ease, not intensity. Conversation is quieter today. People speak in softer tones, their voices still colored with sleep. Someone remarks that the market seemed extra lively yesterday. Someone else jokes about a goat refusing to cooperate on the walk home. A child brags about how far they carried a basket without dropping it even once, an impressive feat, and one that earns them the admiration they clearly expected. After breakfast, you tidy the courtyard. You sweep the dust into a neat pile, humming a slow tune under your breath. The rhythm of the broom becomes a small meditation. The courtyard always looks better after this morning ritual, like it's stretching into wakefulness along with the household. Here comes today's charming and obscure cultural detail. Some Ottoman villagers believed that sweeping the courtyard toward the doorway, instead of inward, after market day, helped guide prosperity out to gather more and return with blessings. You notice an older member of your household gently sweeping in that direction, just a few strokes, symbolic, tender. Whether it works or not, historians still debate if this was superstition or simply poetic housekeeping. Once everything is in order, you step into the street. The village is waking fully now. Doors open, fires light. People greet one another with soft, familiar nods. It's not the energetic hum of market day, it's gentler, quieter, the hum of real life. You head toward the well with your empty jugs. The path feels comforting beneath your feet. You pass the same houses, the same dogs, the same corners. Routine becomes meaning in a place like this. At the well, a few villagers are already gathered. They chat casually as they pull up water, discussing the weather, the health of their animals, rumors of a caravan passing through tomorrow. The rope creaks, buckets splash. You wait your turn, dipping your jug into the cool, clear water. The weight feels satisfying as you lift it. Solid, familiar. Someone asks how your market day went. You share a small story, maybe about the storyteller, or the copper seller, or the runaway goat. They laugh, nodding along. Shared stories knit communities tighter. Once home again, you help prepare items for storage. Herbs hung to dry, grains sorted, fabrics folded and placed carefully into the chest. You feel a quiet pride in each movement. The world today is not flashing with excitement. It is settling, breathing, rebalancing itself. And so are you. The sun rises a little higher. The day stretches before you, not dramatic, not loud, but deeply, calmly ordinary. The kind of day that gives structure to life. You step back into the courtyard, hands drying from a recent wash, the sounds of the village around you feeling like a familiar song. This is the rhythm of life in the Ottoman countryside. Moments of excitement woven gently between days of peaceful repetition. Morning settles, comfortably across the village, not rushing, not pushing, just easing itself into every corner like warm bread dough rising in a sunlit bowl. After returning from the well, you place the freshly filled jug beside the hearth, its weight landing with a deep, satisfying thud. The household is fully awake now, each person moving through their quiet tasks with steady purpose. You sit for a moment beneath the olive tree in the courtyard, feeling the cool shade brush your skin. There's no urgency today, no market to reach, no caravan passing through, just the soft, steady rhythm of ordinary life, the kind of day that fills the spaces between memories, holding everything together in its quiet way. Someone calls your name to help with the loom inside. You rise, brushing dust from your clothing, and join them. The rhythm of weaving begins almost immediately. The thunk of the shuttle, the tug of the thread, the whisper of fibers pulling tight. Each movement feels practiced, grounding. The fabric grows slowly beneath your fingers, steady rows of color forming one after another, as if the loom is quietly recording the passing of time. Work like this doesn't demand hurry. It rewards patience instead. The longer you sit, the more the world outside fades into a gentle blur of soft sounds. A goat bleating, a pot bubbling, a broom sweeping across a neighbor's courtyard. After a while, you step outside again. The sun has risen higher, painting warm light across rooftops and walls. You take a slow walk through the village. Every house, every path, feels familiar in that bone-deep way that comes only from living the same circle of days with the same people. You pass the fountain, its water flowing clear and constant. You pass the mosque, its courtyard already swept clean. You pass the workshop where a carpenter shapes wood with long, deliberate strokes. He nods at you. You nod back. No words needed. And here, in this quiet moment, your final historical fact folds itself into the scene. In the Ottoman countryside, life followed an unbroken cycle of agriculture, worship, trade, and family, resisting change even as the empire expanded around it. Empires rise and fall, sultans come and go, wars are won and lost, but for villagers like you, the rhythm remains the same. Dawn, work, prayer, market, harvest, rest. A pattern older than any one person, older than memory itself. You pause near the edge of the village, gazing out at the fields, green patches swaying gently in the breeze. The air smells faintly of wheat, earth, and the distant promise of rain, and for a moment, you feel something warm blooming in your chest. The quiet realization that this life, simple as it is, carries a fullness that can't be measured. On your way back, you stop at a neighbor's courtyard. Someone waves you over to try a small sweet they made from honey and nuts. You take a bite, crisp, warm, almost overwhelmingly delicious. You thank them sincerely. Small kindnesses like this stitch every day together. Here comes your final obscure cultural tidbit. Some villagers believed that offering a sweet to a neighbor on an ordinary day, not a holiday, invited blessings to both households for the rest of the week. You accept this sweet offering with a smile, though historians still debate whether this tradition spread genuine goodwill or simply encouraged strategic gifting of pastries. Back in your courtyard, the day continues at its calm pace. You finish sorting dried herbs, adjust the woven cloth hanging to dry, and help gather tools under the shade. Shadows begin stretching long and thin again as the afternoon deepens, preparing the world for evening. You sit once more beneath the olive tree, letting the breeze carry your thoughts. You think of the market, the long walk home, the stories shared by lamplight, and the quiet tasks of this morning. Life here is not dramatic, but it is steady, tender, purposeful. A slow unfolding that holds you gently from one sunrise to the next. As the sun begins to dip low once more, you feel content, not because something extraordinary happened today, but because the ordinary itself is enough. The cycle continues, and you are part of it, woven into the fabric of a time 5 centuries old. You return inside to prepare for evening, feeling the softness of the coming night settle around your shoulders like a familiar shawl. The day has been long and gentle, and now it is ready to rest, just like you. Now, let the story loosen its hold on you. Let the light grow softer, the sounds grow quieter, the world grow slower. Imagine the village dimming under the evening sky, lamps glowing warm behind shuttered windows, smoke drifting lazily from hearths, the soft murmur of families settling into their night. The air cools with each passing minute, carrying the scents of earth and distant orchards. The olive tree in your courtyard rustles one last time, then grows still, as if preparing to sleep alongside you. Your breath deepens, your shoulders loosen. The weight of the day slides gently away. Picture the courtyard bathed in moonlight stones shining faintly, shadows stretching across the ground like soft, dark blankets. A single ember glows in the hearth, its tiny red eye pulsing slowly, like a heartbeat reminding you that the world is calm, steady, safe. You lie back on your straw mattress, feeling the blanket warm your legs and the pillow cradle your head. The night wraps around you, not heavy, not dark, but tender, like the embrace of a world that has nothing left to ask of you. Beyond the walls, the village sleeps, the fields sleep, the hills sleep. Even the restless goat finally sleeps. Only the stars remain awake, watching quietly from above. Your breathing falls into rhythm with the gentle pulse of the night. In and out, slow and slower. Nothing pulls at you now. Nothing rushes you. The day has been lived fully. The world is soft and distant and warm. Let your thoughts drift like leaves on a slow river. Let your mind become quiet. Let sleep come as gently as dawn touches the earth. You are safe. You are warm. You are home. And now you may rest.